Hey guys, another day, another unlicensed PlayStation 4 controller to screw around with. Today I got, well, a rather unique PlayStation 4 controller. As in, well, I guess we kind of reached the literal bottom of the barrel as far as PlayStation controllers go. Namely, a PlayStation 4 controller. This one, I am told, is a wired controller. You could say this is the other DualShock 4 that you might see occasionally on eBay. I mean, just as you might... This one is, from what I'm told, yeah, it says here, DualShock 4, which, obviously, when you compare it to the DualShock 4, not quite the same. So, this one, and funnily enough, you have here, designed for the P4. Huh. Okay, I guess they missed that one letter. I mean, I'm just gonna crack open the box because, yeah, Postal Service was not very kind to it. Get the bubble wrap out of here, and here we go. This is, believe it or not, another unlicensed PlayStation 4 controller. I mean, I was screwing around with the box. Not a whole lot of information on this one either. It just says the only reference I can find here is a P45N. Okay, designed for the P4 or PlayStation 4, I guess. And you kind of look at it and, yeah. Obviously, this is a much different build compared to the other, even other unlicensed controllers. I mean, you have, like I said, the wired DualShock 4 here, and of course you have the one of my favorites, the Lorego. As you can see, side by side, they're kind of different. I mean, this one is the first to completely break the mold, as in it does not look any bit like your traditional PlayStation 4 controller, even the unlicensed one. Just based on looks alone, it's very different. Now, it does feature pretty much the same, it has virtually the same features. You have the twin analog sticks here. You have, again, different versions of the, as you may know, the cross, circle, triangle, and square buttons. You have the option button over here, the share button over here. The home button is basically this rubbery button. Well, a touchpad, the analog stick, and of course the triggers over here. This is, of course, this has sort of a 1.8 millimeter cable, and that's it. Again, it's wired. Apparently, the firmware on this is updated. Oh, right. There's also this little LED light that flashes. A pretty neat feature, all things considered. And that's kind of it. It has basically all the same buttons. It's just it's slightly different. Oh, it has these plasticky handles, which I mean it's okay, but again, when you compare it with Lorego, oh man, this oh boy, this is so much smoother than Lorego. Ooh, it's so much smoother here. How it feels. Now, what do I think of this controller? Yeah, as I said before, this is basically bottom of the barrel. You do not find anything as low as this. You can find this at eBay maybe 10, 12, 13, 14 euros maybe, plus shipping. Or shipping including in some cases. And you have to probably wait around maybe 2-3 months to get here. Anyway, regardless, what do I think about this particular controller? Again, as you may have noticed, as far as design goes, it's completely different from your average PlayStation 4 controller, even the unlicensed ones. Now, that's not to say that I've seen some with drastically different designs. But as far as unlicensed, this is probably as different as you can get. Honestly, this just right out of the box just looks like something. This just kind of looks like something you'd find at discount aisle on your local PC store, and certainly feels a bit cheap. I mean, well, in a way, I mean the plastic, it's pretty hard. I mean, it certainly looks sturdy. The way you press the buttons is decent. I mean, you have to get the I do not enjoy the sound of these options and share buttons. Obviously, this needs to be mentioned once again. Like what happens with most of these wired, unlicensed controllers, this is obviously not a touchpad. I mean, the box kind of hints that it is, but we know better. It's not. For crying out loud, it's not. I mean, when you sell a controller at this price range and this entry level, you cannot expect this. This is just a physical button. You press it, and that's all it is. It does not register anything else. At least with the games I've tested, the PS button, it's decent enough. They make a good cracking sound. When you hold it, it's okay-ish. Unfortunately, sadly, this is kind of one of those where I honestly do not recommend this one. I've played around with a ton of controllers, unlicensed ones. Unfortunately, this is probably the first one that made me think, no, this one is not worth it. I've tested other unlicensed products, like the even licensed ones like AtPlay. They're good, but they're actually small. This one, again, it's one of those problems with unlicensed ones. It's not that the buttons aren't great or anything. It's somewhat easy to move around. D-pad's a little stiff. Triggers. It's when you actually start playing games that you start to notice how it lags compared to the other unlicensed ones. Because if you start comparing with the other ones, if you play something like a role-playing game, a classic one, where you're just, again, you move around a little bit, and you just press a button every once in a while, okay. I've noticed with this one, when you start playing action games, particularly ones where you need snappy response, now that's where you start to notice the controller lags. Not as responsive as it should be, and honestly, that's a problem. Again, like I said, the other major downside, quote unquote, is that this is a wired controller. Like I said, I mean, if your cat accidentally grabs your cable, you might, rip it from the console. It might knock it down, which, again, that's something you have to account for. Like I said, if at first it definitely feels sturdy. That's probably the only thing it's got going for it. It feels very certainly it feels durable. Seems like this you could literally throw this at a wall and it probably wouldn't do minimal damage. And for what it's worth, it's again for what it's worth, it already runs out of the box. So you don't need any firmware updates like I had to do with Lorego. And that's about it. I mean, I don't really know what else I could say about this one. I played around with a lot of unlicensed ones. This is unfortunately the one time where I say, no. Don't get this one. It's a waste of time, a waste of money. If you really want something unlicensed, probably go with either a Lorego one or even the DualShock. This other, which I will simply call the other DualShock 4, not worth it, unfortunately.